is a 2022 Ducati Monster, and Chris has already done a great video of it, maybe with the front wheel in the air more than most. That's all well and good, but I'm going to see what it's like as an everyday ride. So number one, I've already got, well, this engine. I own a Ducati Supersport, so I'm going to get to compare what it's like in a different configuration, in the Monster configuration. So that's going to be interesting. Then I'm going to take this bike on my favourite road in the Peak District. So I'm going to start here at the Cat and Fiddle, and I'm going to enjoy what I love doing on a Sunday, which is just blapping around my favourite roads in the Peak. The next thing I'm going to do is enjoy the bike on the track. So I'm going to take it to Silverstone and see what it's like actually throwing it around, and if this Testa Stretta engine's got enough to punch to keep up with other Ducatis. And then finally, I'm going to take this bike and see what it's like riding in the city. So we're going to try commuting with it. What's it like getting through traffic? What's it like trying to park? What's it like when you've got an urgent need to go into shopping to get your nails done? You know, that might happen. And see if it's good, as good in the UK as they claim in Italy. Okay, well, my happy little Monster. I'm incredibly surprised at how initially comfortable it feels. The specs say that the handlebars are slightly further forward, the foot pegs are slightly lower down, seat height's a little bit lower, and it's instantly chuckable. It just ergonomically is exactly where I wanted it. You know, I'm a 5'10" person, and immediately a very, very friendly package. If you want to be like a lazy rider, you can pretty much sit in third and just roll in and out of this happy little torque band. So I'm in third now, 4k, kind of pop it up to 7, and it's, if you want to be lazy, it's there. It's absolutely there, and it's happy to just keep, it's like this, exactly what you expect from a twin, a lot of mid-range grunt, but it's not mind-blowing. So it will cap out when I've been riding it. Today it's kind of topped out in second, topped out in third. But the kind of bike you want to work. It rewards you when you work it. My feet are in the right place. I haven't bottomed the bike out, so even though those foot pegs are lower, I've not scratched it on the floor, so that's a win. My knees are exactly where they should be, nice and under the tank, and obviously I've got this lovely Ducati Monster style tank here. Now they've done a lot of styling on it. It's got this great haunch to it, and it looks great when you're sat on it. It looks, I like its angles. It feels like it has presence. Obviously I can't adjust the front suspension, really don't need to. Let's have some fun with this corner, right? I'll take her up to third, bang down the buck, hang off the seat a little bit and tip it in, and stay quite light on the bars. You can get a bit of a head wobble. It's probably a me problem, but I can put too much pressure on the bars and had a really awkward like head shake straight out. What are you doing, Master? This, oh, I love this corner. I love this corner. It. And now let's talk about that howl. Now I'm really kind of confused because it sounds suspiciously like the V2. Yes, they are totally separate engines. V2 is a Super Quattro, this one is a Testa Stretta. But the howl out of them, it's officially a Ducati howl. You know, we're still Euro 5 compliant, so it's a bit subdued, but I'm actually quite delighted that it's got that. It's got that growl to it. Absolutely got that growl. I think it's a howl. I need better words, but I think it's a howl. Alright, let's enjoy this corner. In third, bang one in, and round we go. And ow! It has been a really, really happy day. I'm in the Peak District, which is about an hour up from where I live, and I've got to ride a Ducati Monster, which is a familiar bike to me. Well, I own the Ducati Supersport, so that's a 937 Testa Stretta engine, and it's exactly what we've got in here. So I felt like I'm able to do a comparison of what I know and my engine capability and what it's like on the Monster. from sitting on the Monster immediately, I've got to give absolute credit for how they've made it instantly comfortable. So they've brought the handlebars slightly in, the foot pegs ever so slightly lower, and it's also quite narrow. So I've got this immediate ability to move around, and I've got, as you'd expect, big wide bars and a fair bit of leverage. So in terms of comfort factor and an immediate chuckability and confidence inspiring, that's like the initial concern you'd have about, you know, part of this job is go and get on a bike, ride it immediately and ride it well. And that has meant that I've been able to enjoy the character and the engine. Said the character word, thanks, I'll avoid that one, Chris. It's meant that I've been able to enjoy that engine straight away. So why have I been enjoying it? I've got a soft spot for twins, and when you put me on a twin like this, which is not stupid powered, so it's like 111 brake, but basically you take it from 4 to about 8k, you can whack the throttle open and it just gives you this fantastic roar that just can't help not bring a smile to your face. There she is. There she is. It's instant, torquey, mid-range power all day, and that is what I've absolutely enjoyed on the Monster, like really enjoyed it. So we can debate about the fact that it doesn't have its lovely trellis frame anymore. Okay, fine, it doesn't look like the old ones do, but it's now a much more modern bike and it's a lot lighter. So it's about 20 kilograms lighter than my Supersport and probably about 15 or something kilograms lighter than the previous version. So having got rid of the trellis frame, we now have this cast aluminium front frame, a lighter rear frame, like a glass fiber polymer one, which has taken loads of kilograms out of that bike. They've also lightened the wheels, so you've got something that's like, I think 166 kilogram dry weight, but something that's immediately easy to move. Like in conjunction with the bars where I want them, and my feet where I want them, it's light. I think it's a light bike, and with the narrow seat, I feel like I have control of it. It's a confidence inspiring bike. And that also explains why Ducati have offered this bike to have its horsepower reduced for an A2 license holder. So you can take 111 brake and then you can dial it down to 47 brake. So it qualifies if you have an A2 license. If this was my first bike, I'd be utterly delighted. Even though without this trellis frame, it still looks like a Monster. If you look at the old Monster, it's got quite an inflated front headlight and an inflated, well, we'll call it windshield. It's clearly not, it doesn't do any of that. It's like neater. It's they've brought it in, it's more tailored. There's an LED ring around here which just looks mint. And what you don't appreciate, unless you compare it with other bikes that compete with this one, the tank. Okay, so I'm going to try and do a Monster impression because that's the only way I could try and describe it, but they've put a lot of styling into what the Monster tank looks like as an echo and legacy of how it was previously designed. So I'm trying to do an impression of the tank, but it's high on its haunches. Like when you're on it, it feels like you have presence, and it's got this kind of shoulders to it. So I'm trying to do a Monster tank impression. I don't know if that's getting me anywhere, but that's what it looks like. So when you're riding it, your knees are just under this flare. It has a level of aggression to it that I quite like. So yeah, like the tank, well done Ducati. You've kept the thing that makes it a Monster, and it's not just about the frame. And the indicators are segmented. I probably find a better way of describing that, but they do this phased blink, and I think that's quite cool as well. And just to have that on the edge of the tank there, brilliant bit of styling. I really like that. So I've been lucky enough to take this bike out on track. Now there was a Ducati Silverstone day where I got to ride the Ducati Panigale V2. And got to take this out. Now, not gonna lie, I've been spoilt with the V2, so I was like, how is the Monster going to compare, and what's it going to be like round the length that is Silverstone? We're still only talking 100 or so brake horsepower, and is it going to top out, for example? Turns out, not so much. It's sometimes when you're on a bike that's not expected to be as capable as a track-orientated bike, you can be pleasantly delighted. Now, yes, I obviously did miss the fairing, and when I opened it up down the back straight at Silverstone, I was desperately trying to tuck with my head on the tank. If you work all the gears and you work this bike, actually quite good fun. The only time I didn't like the fact I was on a Monster and not a track ready bike was a bit of a head shake through the corners. So it doesn't have a steering damper. I would have quite liked that because of those wide bars, a little bit because of me. There's a little bit of like a head wiggle, and the suspension, it can be a tiny little bit pogo-y. So the video evidence may suggest otherwise, but I was still overtaking people on this because although I don't have that top end speed, when it comes to late braking into a corner, I know I'm already lighter, and I know that I've got that width of the bars just to stop it on its nose and then turn it in. I'm not going to have this as my track bike. A pleasant surprise about how capable it really is with the right rider. You've got to be prepared to rinse that mid-range torque. Otherwise, you're going to get to 9, 10k, and it's just going to fall short on you because the engine isn't tuned for that, and it's not a high revving V-twin. Think of it like a nippy 600 because that's what it felt like. I've been out and I've enjoyed my favourite roads in the Peak District on the Monster, and I've also had the luxury of taking it on one of the best circuits in the UK, the Silverstone GP circuit. So I've ticked the track box. What's going to happen next is we're going to see what it's like commuting and riding in and around a city and seeing how that feels. Right, as promised, got to ride the Ducati Monster in a bit of an urban environment. So we took it round Birmingham. So firstly, rode there like on the motorway. You are kind of aware immediately that you got no fairing, so like as you'd expect, it's a bit blustery, and it's 111 brakes, so you're going to have to work a bit harder to get some overtakes. It doesn't have that kind of easy instant power. But when you get into a city centre, you're right back in there at perky, chirpy kind of torque territory. It's exactly what you want out of a twin, and it's easy, first, second gear, just popping in and out through traffic. The Monster is slim enough to fit in and out of spaces, so exactly what you want a motorbike to do, which will be snuggle in front of cars when you're waiting into traffic. It fits and it's easy to move, and that was the other good bit about it. So because it's got that increased steering lock, it's really easy to get in and out of traffic, and then if you just need to make that spontaneous U-turn, it's really easy to do. You just got to keep the revs a bit high. Now it's a big displacement, chunky twin, so you do have to work the clutch a little bit harder. After a lot of stop starts, my clutch hand got a little bit tired, so you just have to kind of ride the revs a bit and keep the clutch going. So overall, entirely comfortable with the Ducati in and around a city centre. It does get a little bit warm, so just like my Supersport and just like the Panigale you rode, you're sat on the top of a cylinder, a big L twin, so you're going to feel a little bit of heat, which is always quite pleasant, I reckon, in the winter. But yep, perfectly capable in and around the cities. So you might have figured out with this multitude of motorbikes behind me, I am at Motorcycle Live and I'm at the NEC, and I'm off to go and check out something a little bit special on the Ducati stand. So I've been riding the Ducati Monster for a few weeks. We've commuted it, we've ridden it on track and taken it onto my favourite roads, but I'm now finally getting to sit on the SP. So for a little bit more cash, you can enjoy, well, some of the best bits of what it means to own a Ducati. Why am I excited? Well, firstly, the SP comes with fully adjustable Öhlins suspension, so that's already a weight saving. In fact, it's 2 kilograms lighter than the Monster I've already spoken to you about. What it also has is Brembo Stylema calipers, so even lighter front end. So whilst the engine remains exactly the same, they have upgraded the riding modes to deal with better suspension and better tyres. So it's got a slightly raised seat height. So what that means is you're just slightly further forward, which means you're going to get a better and easier turn in and better feel on that front end, which is exactly what you want from arguably a more track or an even more sporty orientated bike. Even further weight saving comes from fitting the fresh Termi. So these are road legal, but much lighter than the standard ones. So it's going to sound even better, which is the bit I'm finding quite infuriating, in that I'd quite like the keys to this to get this out on the road and particularly start throwing around on the track. I have had a fantastic time with the Monster experience. So I've been able to ride a Monster on the track and throw it around. I've been able to ride it on my favourite roads in the Peak District, and then finally I've got a poodle in a city centre and see what it's like in terms of urban riding, and it's a very capable bike. But secretly, I want the best bits of this one, and I want the keys to ride away on this Ducati Monster SP.